Global concern. Root cause and solution. A tribute to all living beings on Earth. This book is dedicated to all living beings on Earth, a tribute to the countless forms of life that share our planet. From the smallest microorganisms to the largest animals, each species plays a crucial role in the complex web of life that sustains us all. We often forget how deeply interconnected we are with the natural world, yet every living being, visible or invisible, contributes to the health and balance of our ecosystems. This dedication extends beyond humans and animals to include the vital, unseen organisms that maintain the planet's equilibrium. Microbes in the soil, insects that pollinate, and the microscopic organisms in our bodies are all essential to the functioning of life. Their contributions are often invisible, but they are no less important. We must also acknowledge the profound wisdom inherent in nature. Through millions of years of evolution, living beings have developed the resilience, adaptability, and cooperative strategies needed to survive and thrive. There is much we can learn from the natural world, especially in terms of balance, sustainability, and interconnectedness. Introduction. First of all, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to you for picking up this book. You may think of it as a simple collection of words bound together, but I assure you, it is much more than that. This book represents a journey, one that will take us far beyond the surface of everyday concerns and deep reflection on the issues plaguing our world today. It is an invitation to look at the many evils that surround us, understand their roots, and ultimately find ways to address and, ideally, eliminate them. I found myself compelled to write this book after witnessing the numerous injustices and tragedies that unfold around us daily. Many of you may relate to the issues I address, as wars continue to ravage communities, leading to the senseless loss of innocent lives, men, women, and children alike. While war is a prominent evil, it is far from the only one. Every day, we hear of or personally experience other forms of harm, such as theft, divorce, rape, harassment, poverty, corruption, domestic violence, and social inequality driven by caste, creed, race, power, and more. This book will delve into these various forms of evil and explore their root causes. We will then examine how to eliminate these problems once and for all by revisiting the foundational principles of human evolution. Your thoughts and suggestions are welcome. Please feel free to reach out to me via email at harpreet.singhkoli@gmail.com or contact me on WhatsApp or call at +91 881 057 1940. Evils, why and what for? Why do evils exist? What purpose do they serve in the grand scheme of things? Is there a valid justification for evil acts, or do they simply exist as unfortunate byproducts of the human condition? These are not questions we tend to ask ourselves on a daily basis. However, as we navigate through the complexities of modern life, these questions are more pertinent than ever. Could we say that evils must exist for us to truly appreciate and understand the importance of goodness? Just as day and night must follow one another, or as the seasons change, do the evils of our world have an inherent role in the cycle of life? This is a difficult concept to grapple with because, as much as we might acknowledge that good and bad are interconnected, no one truly wants to embrace the painful or destructive side of existence. It's one thing to recognize the need for balance between light and dark, but it's another to accept the suffering that often comes with the dark elements of life. After all, if we're being honest, most of us would prefer to live without the pain, without the injustice, without the hurt. And so, when these evils come into our lives, we're left wondering, why do they exist, and what purpose do they serve? But, if we follow this reasoning, and believe that evils exist to make us appreciate the good in life, then why do we mourn and grieve when these evils occur? If the presence of evil is somehow a necessary counterpart to goodness, then why do we react with sorrow when a thief steals from us, or when war rips apart our communities? If suffering is inevitable or necessary for a greater understanding of joy, why do we resist it so strongly? Let's consider a more specific example. What if, in the name of this supposed balance, we simply accepted evil acts and allowed them to unfold without any opposition? For instance, should we welcome thieves into our homes, allowing them to take everything we hold dear without any attempt to stop them? Should we allow bombs to fall on our cities, destroy our homes, and kill our loved ones, and then react with indifference or even joy? Do we truly have the courage to live with such a mindset? Would we be willing to abandon our human need for justice and simply accept that evil must exist to balance the good? The answer is obvious, no. Most of us cannot, and would not, ever willingly accept such evil. And herein lies the paradox of our existence. We may acknowledge the philosophical idea that good and evil are two sides of the same coin, but when it comes to the reality of human suffering and destruction, we draw a line. We want to stop it. We seek justice. We want to protect the vulnerable, to prevent harm, and to preserve life. So, if we instinctively resist these evils, does that mean we believe they should not exist in the first place? Does it suggest that they must opt? We certainly have institutions that are meant to address these issues: governments, religious institutions, law enforcement, and courts. They are put in place to regulate society, enforce laws, and ensure that justice is served. Yet, as we look around us, it becomes evident that these institutions fall short. They fail to protect us from the myriad of evils that surround us, and in many cases, these same institutions become a part of the problem themselves. Governments that are supposed to uphold justice sometimes perpetuate inequality, foster corruption, and even engage in violent actions that cause immense suffering. Religious institutions that preach compassion may themselves be complicit in societal wrongs, whether through neglect or active participation in divisive practices. The police and courts, while essential in maintaining order, can also be flawed, sometimes in power or failing to prevent crimes before they happen. This is the irony of modern life: those who are entrusted with safeguarding our well-being are often the ones who fail us. This isn't to say that these institutions don't serve important functions, but rather that their effectiveness is compromised by human flaws, institutional corruption, the sheer complexity of global issues. While laws and moral guidelines exist to curb evil, these measures are not always successful. If they were, we would not find ourselves in a world rife with violence, injustice, and suffering. The question remains: what is the root cause of all these evils? We often focus on addressing the symptoms, punishing the culprits when they commit crimes, offering guidance to offenders so they won't repeat their mistakes, or attempting to prevent future crimes by creating laws and regulations. We may also try to inspire people to live more ethically through speeches in religious places or motivational talks from leaders and thinkers. However, despite these efforts, it is evident that they do not resolve the underlying problems. If these solutions were sufficient, our world would be drastically different. It would be closer to a paradise where injustice and violence no longer occur. Consider the larger, geopolitical issues we face today, issues like mass genocides, wars, and conflicts that tear entire nations apart. Do you think that you or I, as ordinary individuals, or even any government, has the power to stop these crises? Take, for instance, the current global tensions involving world leaders like Vladimir Putin of Russia, Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, or political figures in the United States. These individuals hold immense power over the course of history, and the decisions they make impact the lives of millions of people. But is it within our control to intervene in such matters? The unfortunate reality is that, as individuals, we do not have the power to stop these events. Even when we witness injustice on a scale, we often feel helpless, unable to prevent the destruction and suffering that follows. So, the question remains, who, then, has the power to stop these evils? History is a constant reminder of the recurring patterns of human conflict. In ancient times, emperors and kings waged wars, expanded empires, and invaded other territories in their quest for power. Today, the same patterns are repeated, but now it is political leaders, armed with sophisticated weapons and military strategies, who wield immense power and influence over the lives of countless people. As much as we may try to resist, we are often left powerless in the face of such overwhelming force. Now, we find ourselves at the dawn of a new era, the era of artificial intelligence and robotics. We are constantly hearing latest advancements in technology, from AI-powered systems that automate processes to robots designed for specific tasks. Some robots work in factories, others cook food, and some even appear on television as news anchors. However, this technology also has a darker side. Robots are now being designed as law enforcement officers, soldiers, and even intelligent weapons capable of mass destruction. These creations have the potential to revolutionize warfare and security, but they also bring with them a new level of danger. The very technology that could be used to protect us from harm can also be turned into tools of mass violence and control. This raises a crucial question: what is the root cause of all these evils? Is it the actions of a few bad individuals? Or is it a systemic issue, an inherent flaw in the systems that govern our world, whether political, economic, or technological? What if these evils are a consequence of the very structures we have built to maintain order and control? In some ways, we can categorize these evils based on their nature and scope. For example, we have personal evils, such as theft or domestic violence, which affect individuals and families. Then, we have larger societal evils, such as corruption, inequality, and systemic injustice, which affect entire communities and nations. And finally, we have global evils, such as war, genocide, and the misuse of technology, which have far-reaching consequences that ripple through societies and cultures around the world. The more we look at these issues, the more we realize that the solutions are not simple. Addressing the root causes of evil requires us to confront difficult truths about human nature, societal structures, and the very systems that have shaped our world. It means recognizing that the problems we face are not isolated incidents, but part of a larger, interconnected web of issues that have evolved over centuries. To truly address these problems, we must go beyond surface-level solutions and think critically about the forces that drive them. We must ask ourselves difficult questions about power, greed, and human behavior. We must acknowledge that the systems we have created, whether political, social, or technological, are imperfect and often perpetuate the very evils we seek to eliminate. It is not enough to simply punish those who commit evil acts or to offer temporary solutions. If we want to create a better world, we must fundamentally change the way we think about power, justice, and humanity itself. Only then can we hope to eliminate the root cause of these evils, and move toward a future where goodness prevails. Different types of evils. Let us analyze different types of evils. 1. War. War can be triggered by a variety of factors, including religious conflicts, territorial disputes, nationalism, imperialism, racism, and the institution of slavery. These underlying causes often stem from deep-rooted historical, social, and political tensions. Religious conflicts may arise when differing beliefs lead to violence, while competition over land and resources can escalate into territorial wars. Nationalism, driven by a strong sense of identity or pride in one's nation, can lead to conflict when different groups seek autonomy or dominance. Imperialism, the desire of powerful nations to expand their influence and control over others, often sparks wars to enforce or resist such dominance. Racism and slavery, built on the dehumanization and exploitation of certain groups, have also been central to many violent conflicts, where oppression and inequality breed resistance and rebellion. These factors are not isolated, they frequently intersect and amplify each other, making war a complex and multifaceted phenomenon. 2. Sexual assault. Sexual assault is often rooted in motivations such as hostility, a desire for power, and the need to exert control over another person. These actions are not driven by sexual desire, but rather by a deeper, more harmful intent to dominate or intimidate the victim. Unlike animals, humans possess the capacity for self-control and can make conscious choices about how they express or act on their sexual urges. This ability to choose means that sexual violence is a deliberate action rather than an uncontrollable instinct, reflecting a choice to harm rather than a natural expression of sexuality. This distinction underscores the importance of understanding sexual assault as an issue of power and control, rather than merely a misdirected sexual impulse. 3. Divorce. There are numerous reasons why couples get divorced, with some of the most common causes including infidelity, cruelty or abuse, neglect, abandonment, and irreconcilable differences. Infidelity, or adultery, often leads to a breakdown of trust and emotional connection, making it difficult for relationships to recover. Cruelty or abuse, whether emotional, physical, or psychological, creates an environment of fear and harm, making it nearly impossible for a healthy relationship to continue. Neglect, in which one partner fails to meet the emotional, financial, or physical needs of the other, can also contribute to feelings of isolation and dissatisfaction. Abandonment, where one partner leaves the other without support or explanation, often leaves the relationship fractured beyond repair. Lastly, irreconcilable differences refer to fundamental disagreements or incompatibilities, whether related to values, lifestyle, or goals, that make it impossible for the couple to continue living harmoniously. Each of these reasons, individually or in combination, can lead to the dissolution of a marriage when reconciliation or resolution seems unable. 4. Domestic violence. Domestic violence is fundamentally about exerting power and control over another person. It is not limited by race, gender, sexual orientation, or religion. Anyone can be a victim, regardless of their background or identity. The dynamics of abuse are rooted in the abuser's need to dominate, manipulate, and intimidate the victim, often using physical, emotional, financial, or psychological tactics to establish and maintain control. This type of violence is not confined to any specific group, it affects individuals across all walks of life, and the impact is deeply damaging, regardless of who the victim is. Domestic violence can happen in any relationship, and it often remains hidden or unaddressed due to fear, shame, or the isolation imposed by the abuser. It's crucial to recognize that no one is immune to this form of abuse, and support systems are needed to help victims find safety and empowerment. Five. Corruption. Corruption can arise from several interconnected factors, each contributing to the erosion of ethical governance and the misuse of power. One key factor is the greed for money, where individuals in positions of power seek personal financial gain at the expense of the public good. This desire for often leads to unethical behavior, such as bribery, embezzlement, or favoritism. Another major contributor is high levels of market and political monopolization, where a small group of individuals or organizations control economic resources and political influence. This concentration of power creates an environment where decisions are made to benefit a few rather than society as a whole, often leading to corrupt practices. Low levels of democracy, weak civil participation, and limited political transparency also play a significant role in fostering corruption. In environments where citizens have little say in government affairs, and there is a lack of openness in decision-making, opportunities for corruption are often unchecked. Without active engagement from the public and transparency from leaders, corrupt actions can easily go unnoticed or unpunished. Additionally, higher levels of bureaucracy and inefficient administrative structures contribute to corruption by creating excessive red tape and opportunities for officials to demand bribes or take advantage of unclear processes. When administrative systems are cumbersome and lack accountability, they provide a fertile ground for corrupt behavior. Low press freedom is another critical factor in the perpetuation of corruption. A free and independent press acts as a watchdog, exposing wrongdoing and holding authorities accountable. When the media is censored or restricted, corruption can flourish in secrecy, with little to no scrutiny from the public. Finally, low economic freedom, where individuals or businesses face restrictive regulations, government interference, or lack of property rights, can fuel corruption. In such systems, people may resort to bribery or illegal deals to navigate barriers and access opportunities, further perpetuating a culture of corruption. Together, these factors create an environment where corruption can thrive, undermining trust in institutions, destabilizing economies, and perpetuating inequality. Effective governance, transparency, and the strengthening of democratic values are essential to combat these forces and promote a fairer, more just society. 6. Theft. Kleptomania, also known as compulsive stealing, is an often overlooked cause of theft. Unlike traditional theft, which is typically driven by a desire for financial gain or material goods, kleptomania stems from a psychological compulsion. It is not about needing or wanting the item but rather a persistent urge to steal, which individuals with this condition find difficult to resist. Kleptomania is characterized by recurrent episodes of stealing, often without any practical need for the stolen goods. In many cases, the items taken are of minimal value, and the person could easily afford to purchase them if he chose to do so. This distinguishes kleptomania from typical criminal theft, where the motivation is usually either necessity or the value of the items being stolen. People with kleptomania often steal impulsively, driven by an overwhelming urge rather than a premeditated plan. Before the act of stealing, those with kleptomania often experience anxiety, tension, and arousal. The act of theft itself may provide them with a sense of pleasure or relief, but these feelings are often lived. Once the act is over, feelings of guilt or remorse may arise, yet the compulsive urge to steal remains, leading to a cycle of repeated thefts. Unlike most criminal theft, which is typically planned in advance and may involve accomplices, kleptomaniacs usually steal spontaneously and alone. Additionally, the stolen items are rarely used by the person. Instead, they are often hidden away, discarded, or given to others, which further separates kleptomania from other types of theft where stolen goods are often kept or sold for personal use or financial gain. While kleptomania is a specific psychological disorder, there are many other reasons why people may steal. For some, theft may be a response to financial hardship or the need to survive. Others may steal simply for the thrill or excitement it brings, or to fill an emotional physical void in their lives. Some individuals may be driven to steal due to feelings of jealousy, low self-esteem, or peer pressure. Social factors, such as feeling excluded, overlooked, or undervalued, can also contribute to stealing. People may engage in theft as a form of rebellion, to assert their innocence, or as an act of defiance against family, friends, or societal norms. In some cases, individuals may steal because they lack respect for others or even themselves, further complicating the motivations behind theft. In summary, while kleptomania is a specific psychological disorder characterized by a compulsion to steal, many other underlying factors can contribute to the act of stealing, ranging from economic necessity to emotional needs or social pressures. 7. Road rage. Road rage refers to a motorist's intense and uncontrolled anger, typically triggered by another driver's frustrating or provocative actions. This anger is often disproportionate to the incident and is expressed through aggressive or even violent behavior behind the wheel. Road rage can manifest in various forms, such as tailgating, verbal insults, making obscene gestures, or intentionally blocking another vehicle. In extreme cases, it may escalate into driving maneuvers, reckless actions, or physical confrontations. The anger experienced in these situations is often a response to perceived slights, such as a driver cutting off another, speeding inappropriately, or failing to yield the right of way. However, road rage is not always about the immediate cause. It may also reflect underlying frustration, stress, or personal issues that are projected onto the driving environment. The resulting behavior not only poses a risk to the angry driver but also to other motorists, pedestrians, and passengers, making road rage a serious safety concern. In addition to the immediate danger of aggressive driving, road rage can contribute to long-term psychological stress, creating a cycle of hostility and tension while driving. The behavior can become habitual, with drivers consistently reacting with anger to situations that could otherwise be handled with more patience or tolerance. 8. Murder. Common motives for homicide often include intense emotions such as jealousy, revenge, fear, and anger. These feelings can either be conscious, where the individual is fully aware of their emotional state, or unconscious, where the person may not even realize the underlying emotions drive actions. In some cases, the act of killing is a spontaneous outburst of emotion, driven by a moment of overwhelming rage or panic. In other instances, the act may be carefully planned and premeditated, with the individual taking time to consider their actions and the consequences before carrying out the crime. Jealousy, for example, may stem from perceived betrayal or a fear of losing someone important, leading to violent outcomes. Revenge often arises from a desire to punish someone for a perceived wrong, whether it be real or imagined, and can become an obsession that escalates to extreme measures. Fear, whether rational or irrational, can also drive people to kill, particularly if they believe their safety or well-being is at risk. Anger, especially when it feels uncontrollable or unjustified, is another powerful motivator that can prompt a person to act impulsively. These motives vary in intensity and complexity, but the consequences are always devastating. Whether the act of killing is impulsive or meticulously planned, the emotional and psychological factors at play often reveal deeper issues of emotional instability, of conflict, or unmet needs. Understanding these underlying emotions can be crucial in preventing violence and addressing the root causes that lead to such tragic actions. Nine. Lie. The primary reason many people lie is linked to low self-esteem. Individuals often feel the need to impress others, gain approval, or tell people what they believe others want to hear, in an attempt to feel more accepted or valued. This desire for validation can be especially pronounced in teenagers, who, due to their developmental stage, are particularly vulnerable to social pressures and the need to fit in. For instance, an insecure teenager may lie about their accomplishments, interests, or experiences to be seen as more popular or worthy of acceptance within their peer group. This behavior, while often in a desire for approval, can have negative consequences. Lies can erode trust, damage relationships, and lead to feelings of guilt and anxiety. It is crucial for parents and caregivers to address the underlying causes of dishonesty, particularly the need for external validation, and encourage open, honest communication. Parents should also emphasize the long-term repercussions of lying, helping children understand how dishonesty can affect their integrity and the trust others place in them. By fostering a supportive environment where children feel valued for who they are, parents can help reduce the temptation to lie and encourage healthier, more authentic ways of interacting with others. Life without evils. If we were to live in a world free from war, sexual assault, murder, theft, lies, divorce, domestic violence, corruption, road rage, and all other forms of negative happenings, our lives would transform in profound and remarkable ways. Here are some of the potential outcomes of such a world. 1. Peace and harmony in society. Safety and security. People would feel safe everywhere, whether at home, work, or in public spaces. There would be no fear of physical harm, exploitation, or injustice, creating an atmosphere of trust and peace. Absence of conflict, war, aggression, or violence. There would be no destruction, suffering, or loss of life. Communities could focus on resolving conflicts through dialogue, negotiation, and understanding, fostering deeper relationships and a sense of unity. 2. Strong, loving relationships. Stable families and communities. Without the threat of domestic violence, divorce, or emotional abuse, families and communities could flourish. People would be able to form deeper, more supportive relationships, grounded in mutual respect, love, and understanding. Healthy, positive intimacy. In the absence of sexual assault or coercion, sexual relationships would be based on mutual consent, respect, and care. There would be greater emotional connection and fewer psychological scars from trauma. 3. Honesty and transparency. No lies or deception. With no need to lie or deceive, society would be built on trust. People would communicate openly and honestly, leading to stronger connections, smoother interactions, and greater cooperation. Integrity and leadership. With corruption, leaders would govern with fairness and integrity, focused on the well-being of the people they serve. Decision-making would be transparent, ethical, and focused on the greater good, leading to effective governance and equitable opportunities for all. 4. Economic stability and growth. Elimination of theft and fraud. No theft, fraud, or corruption, resources would be allocated more equitably. People would work together to create a society where wealth is fairly distributed, and there would be no need for protectionism or excessive security measures. Collaborative economy. A society free from competition based on greed or power could encourage collaboration and shared prosperity. People work together to solve problems and improve quality of life for everyone, reducing inequality and creating sustainable economic growth. 5. Healthier, more fulfilled lives. Mental and physical well-being. Without the constant stress of living in fear or dealing with trauma, people would experience better mental health. Stress-related illnesses, anxiety, and depression would decrease, leading to overall improvements in well-being. More time for personal growth. Free from the distractions and struggles of negative events, people would have more time and energy for personal development. Individuals could pursue passions, hobbies, education, and self-care without the constraints of social or emotional trauma. 6. Greater empathy and compassion. Global compassion. Without the harm of war, inequality, or violence, society would foster an environment of empathy, where people care for one another's well-being. Acts of kindness and compassion would become more common, strengthening the fabric of communities and global connections. Supportive systems. People would be more likely to help each other in times of need, knowing that the societal structures would support fairness and justice. There would be no need to guard against exploitation or take advantage of others, as everyone would work toward mutual well-being. 7. Education and knowledge sharing. Focus on education and innovation. In a peaceful and stable world, resources be directed toward education, research, and innovation, rather than military spending or conflict resolution. People would have the opportunity to learn, grow, and contribute to the betterment of society without distractions from violence or fear. Free exchange of ideas. Without corruption or suppression of ideas, intellectuals would thrive. The exchange of ideas and perspectives would lead to rapid innovation in every field, from science and technology to arts and culture. 8. Environmental sustainability. Global cooperation on environmental issues. Without conflict or corruption, the global community could unite to address pressing environmental challenges such as climate change, deforestation, and pollution. People could focus on preserving the planet for future generations, using resources sustainably and cooperating on a global scale. Clean and safe environments. Without crime or neglect, communities would be cleaner, healthier, and more beautiful. There would be greater emphasis on creating livable, green spaces that contribute to the well-being of all. 9. More positive social interactions. Reduced road rage and conflict. Without road rage or the rush associated with daily stressors, driving and transportation would become more peaceful. People would interact with more patience and understanding, leading to fewer accidents and improved quality of life. Community-centered living. Without the distractions of crime or negativity, people would be more inclined to engage with and support one another in their communities, whether through volunteering, local initiatives, or social events. 10. Universal respect for human rights. Equal rights for all, with no discrimination, oppression, abuse. Every person would have equal rights and opportunities. People would be free to express their identities, pursue their dreams, and live without fear of persecution based on race, gender, sexuality, or belief. Universal justice. In the absence of corruption and injustice, legal systems would be fair and balanced, protecting everyone, especially the most vulnerable. Social justice would become the foundation of all policies and actions. Challenges in a utopian society. While the idea of such a world is idyllic, achieving it would require significant shifts in individual and collective behavior, values, and systems. It would require continuous education and growth. People would need to be constantly educated on empathy, cooperation, ethics, and social responsibility. Global cooperation. A world without negative events would need strong, cooperative global institutions to maintain peace, equity, and justice across all nations. Mindfulness and self-reflection. Individuals would need to cultivate inner peace, mindfulness, and self-awareness to eliminate the triggers that cause harm to others. The root cause of all evils. In the present age, we continuously witness groundbreaking discoveries and innovations. We've developed robots, journeyed to the moon and other planets, and achieved feats that were once thought impossible. However, despite all our advancements, we have yet to find a solution to the fundamental evils that disrupt our daily lives. Perhaps we have not truly reflected on the underlying causes of these evils. So, what is the answer to eradicating these evils from our lives? Have we ever paused to consider the root causes of the suffering and harm we face on a daily basis? The core causes of all evils are, 1. Lust and sexual desire. 2. Fear, insecurity and low self-esteem. 3. Anger, aggression, violence, cruelty and abuse. 4. Pride, greed, power, control, jealousy and revenge. 5. Attachment, neglect and abandonment. 6. Anxiety, tension and psychological compulsion. Life without root causes. The root causes of various evils in society, as outlined earlier, should not necessarily be eradicated entirely, as they are part of human nature. Instead, the goal should be to minimize or neutralize their negative impacts. When we reflect on these fundamental issues, lust, fear, anger, pride, attachment, and anxiety, we see how deeply they shape human behavior and, by extension, our societies. These negative aspects often manifest in harmful actions such as violence, discrimination, inequality, and injustice. However, if we could eliminate the negative consequences of these causes, we could transform our world in profound and meaningful ways. The changes that would occur could create a harmonious, just, and compassionate society. The following elaborates on these potential outcomes. 1. No more boundaries, a unified global society. One of the most significant outcomes of reducing the negative impacts of human nature is the elimination of artificial boundaries between countries, continents, states, or cities. The divisions that exist today often lead to conflicts, wars, and tensions. If these barriers no longer existed, humanity would function as a more unified global community. People would no longer be defined by nationalistic or territorial identities, and the idea of borders as obstacles would become obsolete. In such a world, people would move freely across the globe, sharing resources, cultures, and knowledge without the restrictions imposed by political boundaries. A truly interconnected global society would foster collaboration, empathy, and understanding, reducing the likelihood of geopolitical conflicts and making global cooperation on issues such as climate change, poverty, and human rights much easier. 2. Eradication of discrimination, equality for all. When the negative aspects of human nature, such as greed, pride, and insecurity, are diminished, discrimination based on sex, caste, creed, or color would no longer exist. Without the biases and prejudices that arise from fear, power, and jealousy, people would be seen for who they are as individuals, rather than being judged by their gender, race, or background. Such a shift would lead to a world where everyone, regardless of their identity, has equal opportunities, rights, and access to resources. At the end of systemic inequality, and individuals would be able to pursue their dreams and aspirations without facing discrimination or societal barriers. This would foster a sense of belonging and inclusivity, and people would work together to support each other, regardless of their differences. 3. Elimination of religious divisions, unity in diversity. Religious grouping, often a source of division and conflict, would cease to exist. The negative forces driving such divisions, pride, fear, and hatred, were neutralized. Religion, which should be a source of peace, spirituality, and moral guidance, is too often used as a tool for power struggles, exclusion, and violence. By reducing the negative impacts of human nature, people will be able to practice their faith freely without fear of persecution or intolerance from others. In this world, different religions and spiritual practices would be respected and celebrated as part of the diversity of human experience. People would not fight or discriminate based on their beliefs. Instead, they would find common ground in shared values of compassion, empathy, and mutual respect. The world would embrace the idea that spiritual differences are not a source of division but an opportunity for learning and growing together. 4. End of sexual assault, domestic violence, and divorce. Sexual assault, domestic violence, and divorce are painful and pervasive issues that affect millions of lives every day. These societal evils are often fueled by lust, anger, insecurity, and power dynamics. If we could minimize the negative aspects of these emotions, such as unchecked sexual desire, fear, and feelings of inadequacy, we would see a significant decline in these harmful behaviors. In a world where people are taught to respect one another's boundaries, relationships would be built on trust, mutual respect, and understanding. People would no longer feel the need to control or dominate others, and the cycle of abuse would end. Moreover, with greater emotional stability and healthier interpersonal relationships, rates would drop significantly, as individuals would have the tools to communicate, compromise, and resolve conflicts without resorting to violence or emotional harm. 5. No more mass killing or war. One of the most tragic consequences of the negative aspects of human nature is the prevalence of war and mass killings. Wars are often driven by greed, pride, jealousy, and the desire for power. These forces are minimized, the likelihood of violent conflicts decreases significantly. The world would move towards peaceful resolutions of disputes, relying on diplomacy, dialogue, and mutual respect rather than violence. Without the constant threat of war, resources that were previously spent on weapons and military operations could be redirected toward improving quality of life for all. People would no longer view each other as enemies but as partners in the shared project of global well-being. Mass killing, whether on a battlefield or in genocides, would be a thing of the past as humanity's collective focus would shift from destruction to creation. 6. The end of theft and corruption. Theft and corruption are two pervasive issues that undermine trust, justice, and fairness in society. These evils often arise from greed, insecurity, and the desire for power or control. If we could neutralize these negative traits, people would be less likely to exploit others for personal gain. A more ethical and transparent society would emerge, where individuals and institutions prioritize the well-being of all over self-desires. In such a world, corruption in government, business, and other sectors would be eradicated. People would no longer seek to cheat or deceive to gain advantages, and wealth would be distributed more fairly. This would foster a sense of community and shared responsibility, where people work together to support each other to build a just society. 7. Elimination of road rage and murder. Aggression, frustration, and the need for control often manifest in road rage and violent crimes like murder. These behaviors are driven by unchecked anger and the inability to manage emotions effectively. If we could minimize these negative emotions, we would see a dramatic decrease in road rage incidents and violent crimes. In a world where emotional intelligence, patience, and empathy are taught and practiced, people would approach interactions, whether in traffic or in daily life, with respect and understanding. The need to assert control or dominance would fade, and peaceful resolutions would replace violent reactions. Murder and violent crimes, fueled by personal disputes or societal tensions, would no longer be prevalent. 8. A culture of honesty. In a world where the negative aspects of fear, insecurity, and greed are minimized, lying and deceit would become virtually non-existent. People would no longer feel the need to manipulate or mislead others to protect their own interests. Honesty, transparency, and integrity would be the foundation of all interactions, both personal and professional. In such a society, trust would be built on mutual respect and authenticity. Relationships, whether in families, workplaces, or communities, would thrive on open communication and honesty. The end of lies would create a world where deception and manipulation no longer have a place, and people could rely on each other with confidence. 9. A universal language communication. The barriers of language often create misunderstandings and divisions between people from different parts of the world. If the negative impacts of pride and fear are reduced, the need for linguistic and cultural separation would diminish. A universal language would allow people from diverse backgrounds to communicate effortlessly, breaking down barriers and fostering cooperation. This shared means of communication will bridge gaps between nations, cultures, and communities. People would be able to exchange ideas, learn from one another, and collaborate on global challenges without the hindrance of language differences. This would be a significant step toward unity and understanding, where cultural diversity is celebrated rather than feared. 10. A world of love and compassion. If the negative forces of hatred, fear, and insecurity were minimized, people would experience a profound transformation in how they relate to one another. Love and compassion would become the driving forces of society, replacing animosity and division. People would see each other as equals, and instead of competing or harming each other, they would seek to support and uplift one another. This shift would lead to a more harmonious world where kindness and empathy govern all human interactions. The competitive, divisive mindset that currently dominates much of society would give way to collaboration, cooperation, and mutual aid. 11. No one left hungry. If the negative aspects of greed and attachment were minimized, the resources in the world would be more evenly distributed. No one would go hungry or lack basic necessities. Global efforts would be focused on ensuring that everyone has access to food, shelter, and healthcare. This would end poverty and hunger, two of the most significant sources of suffering in the world today. 12. Equal treatment for all. A society that minimizes negative traits such as greed, power, and pride would ensure that all people are treated fairly and equally. No one would face discrimination based on their race, gender, or background. Instead, everyone would have access to the same opportunities, resources, and rights. This would lead to a more just society where people are valued for who they are, and where no one is marginalized or excluded. Everyone would have a fair chance to succeed, and society would work together to support those in need. 13. Access to equal facilities and amenities. With the reduction of greed and corruption, the disparities between the rich and poor would diminish. Everyone would have access to the same quality of healthcare, education, and living amenities. Resources would be allocated equitably, ensuring that no one left behind due to economic or social status. 14. A secure future for all. If fear and insecurity were minimized, people would feel confident that their future, and the future of their children, was safe and secure. Governments would provide stable, fair systems of social support, ensuring that all citizens have access to opportunities for growth and development. People would no longer fear for their livelihoods or well-being, knowing that society had systems in place to care for them. 15. Reduction in law enforcement and legal systems. As negative behaviors such as crime, aggression, and dishonesty were reduced, the need for police stations, courts, and prisons would diminish. The resources previously devoted to maintaining law enforcement systems would be redirected to support positive activities such as education, health, and community building. 16. Redirection of resources to positive causes. With the elimination of the need for military spending, war, and weapons, the vast sums of money currently consumed by negative activities could be redirected to positive causes. These funds could be used to address issues like hunger, education, and healthcare, ensuring that the basic needs of every person on the planet are met. 17. A world of endless possibilities. These are just some of the wonders that could unfold if we were able to minimize the negative aspects of human nature. The potential for positive change is immense. When we work together to reduce the root causes of evil, whether they are personal, societal, or systemic, we can create a world where peace, love, and justice reign supreme. In such a world, humanity would be united in its pursuit of a better, more compassionate existence for all. The future brighter, and the possibilities for positive transformation would be limitless. present solution. These root causes are often connected to emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical processes, so addressing them requires a multifaceted approach that may include self-awareness, emotional management, cognitive reframing, and sometimes professional help. Below are some strategies to consider. 1. Lust and sexual desire. Mindfulness and meditation. Practice mindfulness to become aware of your thoughts and desires without acting on them impulsively. Meditation can help you focus your energy on more productive and fulfilling activities. Self-control and boundaries. Set clear boundaries for yourself regarding sexual thoughts or spiritual practices. Understanding the root. Often, excessive lust stems from unmet emotional needs, loneliness, or external triggers. Identifying the source can help in addressing it more effectively. Therapy. If the behavior is compulsive, therapy such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or even sex therapy can be helpful in breaking unhealthy patterns. Increased clarity and focus. Without the distraction of overwhelming sexual desire, your energy and mental focus will likely be directed toward personal growth, creativity, and meaningful goals. Better emotional connections. Experience more fulfilling emotional connections with others, as the focus shifts from physical attraction to deeper relationships based on respect, trust, and shared values. Healthier relationships. The elimination of unhealthy attachments to lust allows for healthier, balanced relationships where intimacy is nurtured in a respectful, consensual manner. Personal growth. You might find that you have more time and mental space for personal growth, intellectual pursuits, and fulfilling hobbies. Fear, insecurity and low self-esteem. Self-awareness and reflection. Start by acknowledging these feelings and understanding where they originate. Journaling or introspective thinking can help bring clarity. Positive affirmations. Reprogram your self-talk by using positive affirmations and reinforcing your self-worth. Self-compassion. Treat yourself kindly, like you would treat a good friend. Recognize your achievements, no matter how small. Therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is a powerful tool to challenge irrational thoughts and build confidence. Increased confidence and self-worth. Fear and insecurity constantly influencing your decisions, you will feel more confident and empowered to pursue your goals. Inner peace and security. As self-esteem improves, you become less reliant on external validation, fostering a sense of inner peace and stability. Better decision-making. With reduced anxiety and insecurity, you'll make decisions based on your values and goals, rather than fear of judgment or failure. Healthier relationships. You'll engage in more balanced, reciprocal relationships because you no longer feel the need to prove your worth or cling to unhealthy attachments. 3. Anger, aggressiveness, violence, cruelty and abuse. Anger management. Practice anger management techniques like deep breathing, breaks, and focusing on solutions rather than the problem. Emotional intelligence. EQ. Work on recognizing and naming your emotions, which is the first step in controlling them. The ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively can help mitigate anger. Physical exercise. Engage in physical activity like exercise or sports, which can release pent-up energy and reduce anger. Therapy. A therapist, especially one specializing in anger management, can help you learn healthier ways to cope and express your emotions. 4. Pride, greed, power, control, jealousy and revenge. Humility practices. Cultivate humility practices such as gratitude, self-reflection, and considering others' perspectives. Recognize that everyone has value. Empathy. Understand that everyone has their own struggles and that jealousy often comes from a lack of appreciation for one's own life. Mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness helps you detach from negative emotions like jealousy or revenge, and fosters a more balanced and compassionate mindset. Forgiveness. Release the desire for revenge by practicing forgiveness, whether for yourself or others. Holding on to grudges can hinder your growth. Emotional stability. By addressing anger and aggression, you'll cultivate emotionality, making it easier to handle stressful situations calmly and rationally. Improved relationships. The elimination of violent or abusive tendencies will result in healthier, more compassionate relationships with family, friends, and colleagues. Peace of mind. A lack of aggression or cruelty will likely bring a greater sense of peace, as you are no longer harboring negative emotions like rage or resentment. Personal integrity. With less reactive behavior, your actions will be more aligned with your true values, leading to a sense of personal integrity and authenticity. 5. Attachment, neglect and abandonment. Secure attachment. If this stems from past experiences, working on healing from those wounds is essential. Therapy, particularly trauma-focused therapy, can help. Self-sufficiency. Cultivate a sense of independence and self-worth. Practice self-care and focus on developing healthy relationships where mutual respect and understanding exist. Mindful relationships. Focus on building healthy, balanced relationships where you aren't overly dependent on others for validation, nor neglectful of own needs. Forgiveness and letting go. Work through past feelings of abandonment or neglect and practice forgiveness, especially if those feelings are linked to past experiences that you cannot change. Freedom and independence. Letting go of unhealthy attachment patterns allows for a greater sense of freedom and independence. You can form healthier, more secure relationships based on mutual respect and equality. Emotional resilience. Without clinging to others or fearing abandonment, you'll become emotionally stronger, better able to handle life's ups and downs with a sense of security and inner peace. Healthier relationships. You will approach relationships from a place of security and emotional maturity, avoiding codependency and ensuring that both partners contribute to the relationship in healthy ways. Healing from the past. If you've experienced neglect or abandonment in the past, healing those wounds leads to greater emotional health and an ability to create new, positive experiences. 6. Anxiety, tension and psychological compulsion. Breathing techniques and meditation. Engage in relaxation practices such as deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or guided meditation to manage anxiety and tension. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT is effective for reducing anxiety and compulsions by challenging irrational fears and replacing them with more rational thoughts and behaviors. Mindfulness and grounding techniques. Engage in grounding exercises, e.g., focus on the present moment, connecting with your senses, to reduce anxiety and control compulsive behavior. Healthy lifestyle, exercise, a balanced diet, and sufficient sleep can greatly affect your anxiety levels. Consistent physical activity can help release endorphins, reducing stress. Increased calmness and mental clarity. Without the constant mental tension and anxiety, your mind will become clearer and more focused, enabling you to approach challenges with a calm and composed attitude. Better health. Chronic anxiety and psychological compulsions often take a toll on physical health. Eliminating these patterns can result in improved physical health, with better sleep, digestion, and overall well-being. Enhanced creativity and productivity. When anxiety is no longer a barrier, you can tap into a higher level of creative productivity, feeling free to pursue new projects and ideas without fear or self-doubt. Stronger resilience. The absence of compulsive behaviors means that you'll be better able to face life's difficulties without feeling overwhelmed. You'll be able to respond to challenges in a measured, thoughtful way rather than reacting impulsively or anxiously. God, omnipotence, omniscience and omnipresence. The question of who or what God is has been a subject of profound contemplation and debate across cultures, religions, and philosophies for centuries. At its core, the concept of God is both a deeply personal and universally shared understanding among humanity. While interpretations of God vary greatly, there are certain attributes that remain constant across many religious traditions. God is often described as omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, meaning that God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and everywhere present. These qualities paint God as a being beyond human comprehension, whose nature and essence transcend the limits of our understanding. Omnipotence, the all-powerful Creator. One of the central tenets of many religious beliefs is that God is omnipotent, meaning that God possesses unlimited power and authority. This concept is foundational to the idea that God is the creator of the universe and all life within it. According to many religious traditions, everything in existence, from the vast expanse of the cosmos to the smallest living organism, is the result of God's divine will and power. The sheer magnitude of God's power is often described as being beyond anything human beings can fully grasp. Whether it is the creation of stars, galaxies, or the intricate design of life on Earth, God's omnipotence suggests that there are no limits to what God can accomplish. This notion of omnipotence, however, implies that God's power is arbitrary or chaotic. In fact, many belief systems hold that God's power is exercised with a sense of order, purpose, and wisdom. The universe is seen as a reflection of this divine order, with every action taken by God having profound meaning, even if it is not always immediately apparent to human beings. In this way, the concept of an all-powerful God encourages believers to trust in the divine wisdom behind the workings of the universe, even in times of hardship or uncertainty. Omniscience, the all-knowing presence. A core attribute often associated with God is omniscience, which means that God knows everything, past, present, and future. God's knowledge is boundless and complete, encompassing not only the actions and events of the world but also the innermost thoughts, desires, and motivations of every individual. This divine knowledge extends far beyond human comprehension, as it is not limited by time or space. In many religious teachings, the belief in God's omniscience brings comfort to individuals, as it suggests that there is nothing beyond God's understanding, and that every circumstance or challenge faced by a person is already known to God. Omniscience also emphasizes the idea that God's actions are guided by an infinite wisdom. While human beings may struggle to understand the complexities, God's all-knowing nature assures believers that there is a greater plan at work, one that is beyond human perception. For those who hold this belief, trusting in God's omniscience can offer solace, as it suggests that everything happens for a reason and that God is always aware of the path that individuals are walking, even if it is not immediately clear to them. Omnipresence, the ever-present force. In addition to being all-powerful and all-knowing, God is also described as omnipresent, present everywhere at all times. This means that God's presence is not confined to a particular place or time, but rather, God exists in every moment and in every location. This aspect of God's nature highlights the belief that the divine is always accessible and ever-present in the lives of those who seek it. One is in the depths of a forest, on a bustling city street, or in the quiet of their own home, God is believed to be present in all places. The concept of omnipresence also suggests that God's influence and guidance extend beyond human understanding. God's presence is not always visible or directly felt, but it is understood woven into the very fabric of the universe. This omnipresent nature of God is often experienced by believers as a sense of connection to something larger than themselves, an awareness that they are part of a greater whole. In this sense, the idea of God's omnipresence serves to inspire awe and reverence, as it reminds individuals that they are never truly alone, even in moments of isolation or despair. The one true God. Across various religious traditions, there is often a shared belief in the existence of one supreme, all-powerful deity who created the universe and all living beings within it. This God is the ultimate source of all existence and the foundation of all that is good and just in the world. Whether referred to as God, Allah, Yahweh, or by another name, this belief in a single divine creator is central to many of the world's major religions, including Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and others. The idea of a singular God challenges the notion of multiple deities or gods, which are found in polytheistic religions. For those who believe in the oneness of God, the belief is not only a matter of faith but also a source of guidance and moral clarity. God is seen as the ultimate source of truth, justice, and morality, and believers are often encouraged to live their lives in accordance with God's teachings and commandments. This belief in one God also fosters a sense of unity among followers, as they share a common understanding of the divine and its role in their lives. The role of God in life's experiences. In many religious teachings, God is also believed to be responsible for the events that occur in the lives of individuals. Whether positive or negative, it is often thought that everything that happens is part of God's divine. Good fortune, success, and joy are seen as blessings from God, while hardship, suffering, and misfortune may be understood as challenges or tests sent by God to help individuals grow spiritually. This belief in God's role in human life can be both comforting and challenging. On the one hand, it offers reassurance that everything happens for a reason, even if that reason is not immediately clear. On the other hand, it can lead to difficult questions when faced with suffering and tragedy. If God is all-powerful and all-knowing, why do bad things happen to good people? These are questions that many religious followers grapple with, and different traditions offer various explanations for the presence of suffering in the world. Some religious perspectives emphasize the idea of free will, suggesting that while God may have created the universe and set the conditions for life, it is up to individuals to make their own choices and navigate the challenges they face. This view allows for the possibility of personal responsibility. And the belief that individuals have the ability to shape their own destinies, even in the face of adversity. God's ongoing creation. Another fascinating aspect of God's nature is the belief that God continues to create and shape the world. While many religions teach that God created the universe in the past, there's also a belief that God is still actively involved in the ongoing creation of life. This is reflected in the idea that new species, ecosystems, and even cosmic phenomena are continually being brought into existence by God's divine creativity and intelligence. From the vast diversity of life on Earth to the mysteries of the universe that remain unexplored, the belief that God is still creating serves as a reminder that the divine is always present and at work in the world. Even as we continue to explore and discover new species and phenomena on our planet, there are still countless mysteries that remain unknown. It is possible that God's creative power is ongoing, bringing forth new life and possibilities that we may not yet be able to comprehend. This belief in God's continual creativity invites a sense of wonder and awe, as we recognize that the world is far more complex and interconnected than we can fully understand. The limitations of human understanding. Despite our best efforts to understand the nature of God, it is widely acknowledged that human beings are limited in their capacity to comprehend the divine. As finite creatures, our understanding is inherently limited, and there are aspects of God's nature and actions that remain beyond our reach. Even with the most advanced technology and scientific knowledge, we are unable to fully grasp the extent of God's omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. Our minds are simply not equipped to think in the same way that God does, and we must accept that there are mysteries beyond our comprehension. In this sense, the idea of God encourages humility. We are reminded that we are not the ultimate authorities on the universe or the workings of existence. Instead, we are invited to trust in God's wisdom, even when we do not fully understand why things happen as they do. This humility also encourages us to acknowledge the limits of our own power and control over lives. Free will and responsibility. While God may have created the universe and all life within it, many religious traditions also emphasize the idea that human beings have been given the gift of free will. This means that, while God is the ultimate creator, it is up to us to use the minds and bodies that God has given us to navigate life's challenges and make decisions. Free will allows us to take responsibility for our actions, make choices, shape our own destinies. While God may provide guidance, blessings, or even challenges in our lives, it is ultimately our responsibility to determine how we respond to these circumstances. This belief in free will is empowering, as it suggests that we have the ability to influence our own lives and contribute to the greater good of humanity. It also encourages us to use our reasoning and intellect to make wise decisions and live in a way that reflects our values and beliefs. My proposed solution. Have you ever considered how we might minimize the root causes discussed in the previous chapters? We've witnessed the global response to the COVID-19 pandemic, where scientists from all corners of the world work tirelessly to find a cure for this deadly and invisible disease. We've all heard the sayings, necessity is the mother of all invention. And where there is a will, there is a way. These principles were exemplified during the pandemic, as within just a year, scientists developed the first vaccine to prevent the spread of the virus. Subsequently, improved versions of the vaccine were created by different countries. This demonstrated that nothing is truly impossible if we have the determination and necessity to achieve it. So, why can't we apply the same approach to create a vaccination for the root causes of societal evils? Yes, we can develop solutions, just as we did for COVID-19, for issues such as 1. Lust and sexual desire. 2. Fear, insecurity, and low self-esteem. 3. Anger, aggression, violence, cruelty, and abuse. 4. Pride, greed, power, control, jealousy, and revenge. 5. While some medications may already exist for a few of these root causes, 6. The cures anxiety, are often insufficient or not and psychological compulsion enforced. The challenge remains to ensure that these solutions reach those who need them most, and that they address the root causes effectively. Just as we overcame the challenges posed by the pandemic, we can, with determination and innovation, find ways to tackle these deeper issues and work toward a healthier, more balanced world. Cure implementation. The implementation of curing the root causes, or minimizing their harmful effects, is an intricate and challenging endeavor. These root causes could refer to a range of social, political, health, or environmental issues that undermine societal stability and well-being. The complexity arises due to the diverse scenarios and the different groups of individuals affected by these root causes. From newborns to politicians, and from ordinary citizens to criminals, the methods of intervention vary, and each group requires a tailored approach to ensure the root causes are effectively addressed. In this discussion, we will explore each of these groups can be approached and treated to mitigate the root causes that have a profound impact on society. 1. For newborns, early intervention through vaccination. Newborns represent a particularly vulnerable segment of the population, and any effort to address root causes in this group must begin early. Vaccination plays a critical role in this process. For newborns, the first 2 years of life are essential in establishing a strong foundation for health, as they are particularly susceptible to a range of diseases. The immunization schedule that is typically followed in many countries includes vaccinations for a variety of infectious diseases, and it is during this period that interventions targeting the root causes of health threats should be incorporated. Introducing vaccinations that address the root causes, whether they are infectious diseases or environmental factors, can help prevent long-term complications and prevent the spread of harmful conditions. For example, a vaccination campaign targeting respiratory infections or other communicable diseases that may be prevalent in the community can significantly reduce the risk of such diseases affecting newborns. Governments and healthcare systems should prioritize the integration of these vaccinations into standard immunization programs, ensuring that newborns receive them in conjunction with other vital vaccines, such as those for polio, hepatitis B, or measles. Moreover, in some cases, newborns may be exposed to environmental pollutants or malnutrition, which can affect their long-term health. Early interventions, such as proper maternal care, nutrition support, and preventive healthcare services, are necessary to mitigate these environmental and social determinants of health. Ensuring that vaccinations and health programs are available from the moment of birth sets a critical precedent for minimizing the impact of root causes on this fragile group. 2. For the general population, periodic vaccinations and medications. The general population, or ordinary citizens, can be approached through periodic vaccinations and regular health interventions. In many societies, individuals receive scheduled vaccinations throughout their lives, which help protect them from a range of diseases and health risks. The root causes affecting the general population could include infectious diseases, lifestyle-related health issues, or even social determinants like access to healthcare, education, or safe living conditions. For preventing the spread of diseases such as influenza, tuberculosis, or early emerging infections, periodic vaccinations are a proven method of protection. These vaccinations can be administered at regular intervals, such as during annual checkups or designated vaccination drives, to ensure that people remain protected and that herd immunity is achieved. Public health campaigns that emphasize the importance of regular vaccinations and preventive measures can help curb the impact of infectious diseases on the general population. In addition to vaccines, medications also play a key role in addressing root causes in the general population. For example, addressing chronic health conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, or heart disease can be achieved through the prescription of medications and the promotion of healthier lifestyles. By focusing on early detection and continuous management of these conditions, individuals can prevent long-term complications and improve their quality of life. Access to affordable medications, combined with education on healthy living, can greatly reduce the burden of diseases on the general population. Governments and health organizations must work together to ensure that vaccines and treatments are accessible to everyone, regardless of socioeconomic status. This means improving healthcare infrastructure, reducing barriers to access, and promoting public health education campaigns that encourage people to take preventative health measures seriously. 3. For criminals and terrorists, treatment and special approaches for incarcerated and at-large individuals. Addressing the root causes of criminality and terrorism represents a unique challenge. While those who are incarcerated can be treated similarly to the general population through medications or vaccinations, the treatment of criminals and terrorists who are at large or beyond the reach of law enforcement bears special consideration. Incarcerated individuals can receive medical care and vaccinations as part of their rehabilitation process. Providing healthcare services in prisons is essential not only for the physical well-being of inmates but also for reducing the transmission of infectious diseases within these closed environments. Addressing the root causes of criminal behavior, such as mental health issues, substance abuse, and lack of education, through targeted interventions like counseling, vocational training, and addiction treatment can help rehabilitate offenders and reduce the likelihood of reoffending. However, the situation becomes more complicated when dealing with individuals who are not incarcerated. Criminals and terrorists who operate outside the law present significant challenges for authorities. Their behavior is often rooted in complex socio-political, psychological, and ideological factors, making traditional approaches to treatment less effective. Specialized programs, such as de-radicalization initiatives, mental health counseling, and efforts to address the underlying grievances that fuel criminality and terrorism, must be tailored to meet the specific needs of these individuals. In some cases, the approach may involve law enforcement and intelligence operations to disrupt criminal and terrorist networks. But alongside these efforts, providing support programs to reintegrate individuals into society after they have been incarcerated or detained is crucial. Addressing the root causes of crime and terrorism requires a multi-pronged strategy that combines law enforcement with social interventions. For politicians and people in power, the challenge of addressing root causes in leadership. One of the most difficult groups to address when it comes to curing root causes is politicians and people in positions of power, such as heads of state, elected officials, or business leaders. These individuals wield significant influence over the policies and systems that shape society, and their decisions can either exacerbate or alleviate the impact of root causes. The challenge in dealing with politicians and powerful individuals is that they may not always prioritize the public good over personal or political interests. In some cases, political leaders may actively resist or undermine efforts to address root causes, especially if doing so threatens their hold on power or conflicts with their ideological stance. Leaders like the President of the United States, Vladimir Putin, or other influential figures in various countries are often subject to political pressures, national interests, and international relations that can complicate the implementation of necessary health or social interventions. To effectively address root causes at this level, governments and international organizations must enforce strict rules, regulations, and policies. This may involve creating accountability mechanisms that hold leaders to their commitments to public health and social welfare. Governments can also push for transparency, strengthen democratic institutions, and ensure that power is exercised in the best interest of society. International cooperation and pressure from global organizations can encourage leaders to prioritize collective well-being over narrow political interests. One of the key approaches in tackling root causes in politics is through public advocacy, education, and the mobilization of civil society. When the public demands action, it becomes harder for politicians to ignore the need for change. Civil society organizations, grassroots movements, and activists can play a pivotal role in raising awareness and pressing for reforms that address the root causes of societal issues. Conclusion: curing or minimizing the impact of root causes across different groups of society is a complex and multifaceted task. Each group requires a specific set of interventions that are tailored to their unique circumstances. For newborns, early vaccination is essential. For the general population, periodic vaccinations and medications are critical for prevention. For criminals and terrorists, both incarceration-based treatments and targeted social interventions are needed. And for politicians and those in power, rigorous policies and public advocacy are necessary to ensure accountability and positive action. By recognizing the varying needs of each group and adopting a strategic approach, we can begin to address the root causes that threaten societal well-being, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of their status or position, are protected and supported in creating a healthier, safer, and more just world.